Hello, Chattanooga.
Welcome to Footnotes.
So glad you joined us here today. Bright and early, if you're listening at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Welcome to Footnotes. I'm Sam Hodem.
I'm Dan Gibson. And
we're so glad to have you.
Yeah. Footnotes is something, it is a part of our ministry here at Cornerstone Apostolic in Chattanooga, and it's where we reflect on the message that was delivered this past Sunday, and Pastor did a great job on delivering that message.
I like how you said reflect there.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're running 1,000 mile an hour, and we don't have time, or we don't make time to sit and think.
Yeah.
Process. That's what Footnotes is.
That's right.
That's it.
Gear it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, Pastor preached a timely message for called Purchased, and there's all different types of directions. My mind was going 90 miles an hour on this message. Even going back and thinking of, he made comments about things that we purchased and some of the crazy stuff we do, and he even goes as far as to say some of the dumb stuff that we do.
There is the dumb stuff, yeah.
And so, as I reflected on this message, he brings out 1 Peter 2, verse 9, where he says that we are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and he calls us a peculiar people. And Pastor rolled it out just, we always think of the peculiar as odd.
I know some peculiar people.
In our language, that would be the case.
Yeah.
But he talked about how that the root of that meaning behind that word peculiar was purchased.
A purchased people.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were. And I've oftentimes thought about this and other messages in the recent months, Pastor. We're talking. As a matter of fact, you'll be ministering some on this, and myself as well, and Pastor. We're talking about the tabernacle this year and the importance of that. And God chose the children of Israel, and He chose them for Himself. And
He did.
And all that He did there, talking about the tabernacle, is everything had its place and it had its order. Everything was planned.
It made those with OCD very happy. Right.
Had a corner for that. And even down to the brass tacks.
The brass tacks.
But He had plan behind all of that. And I think sometimes, just thinking through this message this weekend, sometimes we get caught up in a lot of our life, just put it that way, life.
Yeah.
And it's really rough at times. There's things that, those things that we choose to do, and we realize it wasn't a good choice. And then other things but we get caught up in life, and then we scratch our heads and say, well, how is it that I'm chosen? Because all of this stuff that happens to me, I do my best. I work. I live for God. I do the things I'm supposed to do, and I plan out. And God, all of this stuff starts happening. But the truth is, God teaches us things through every trial that we have. Everything. He is a God of purpose, and plan, and all of these things mean something. I made mention of this, and I'm fixing to just take the reins off and let you go with it. But I made mention of this. The story of Joseph was one of those that I just really got sucked into last couple of days. Yeah. And Joseph is one of those characters that if we looked at his life, we looked at what was going on in his earlier age of his life, we would look at him and say he was cheated.
Yeah.
I mean, if you only saw part of his life, he was cheated. His coat was taken from him. He was thrown in a well. He was thrown in this pit, and all of these things happened. We'd call it cheated. But the truth is, God.
Or victimed.
That's right. Yeah, put that label on it.
Yeah.
But God had a plan.
He did.
He had an ultimate plan, and I think that's one of those things that we have to realize, that God chose you, and there's something that's been said a number of times this year that I find that I've held on to, is that God empowers us. He trusts us with those times. You know, if and Pastor even made mention, he had a friend of his when our church was blown away and all of the things that went on there, is God knew that you would be okay with this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what how we have to look at life, is God knew that I was going to be able to make it through this.
Yeah.
And he gave this to me for me to take it.
What a perspective shift. We're purchased. So in the Old Testament, one of the writers, he goes, and God's talking, he says, Israel or Egypt have I ransomed for you. He's trying to convey this message to his people, what he's given up for them.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a history nut, right?
Yeah,
and just love it. Historical context of Egypt. The Sphinx is older than old. Archaeologists have no idea how old it is. It is beyond, like, no one can properly age it. I don't know how to put this into words, but if you're familiar with something called the Younger Dryas era, it's potentially older than that. Now, I don't know. I don't know, just based on how they're aging things and what they can't figure out about it. Yeah. It's old. It's been in existence. Egypt as an empire, as a power, a world power, had been in existence at the time of Moses. It was still 1,500 years old, easily, in written history.
I wonder how many things that Egypt put in place that we still use today.
Oh, almost everything. Like, I mean, it was insane. And he said, Egypt, and it was incredibly wealthy.
Yeah.
Egypt have I ransomed for you. A people that were not a people.
Right.
He said, a people who are not a people, I've made a people by my name, right? Mm-hmm. And so they weren't even a good people, and then they were a stiff-necked people, and then they were and we can go through all the things they were, and guess what? We're the same.
That's right. That's right.
But he purchased us,
and he brought us out of that.
Yeah. So back on that working through those things, God's working things out of us.
Oh, right.
We have to be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to understand that God, this, and this may have happened to me. But like you said, you purchased. It's for a purpose. It's That's for a reason.
I'll be honest with you. I love to learn from other people.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a mistake, or it could have been something that they had to go through. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I believe that with all my heart. There's things sometimes we would look at it as mistakes, but truly it was something that God took them through. Yeah. And it was a learning experience.
That was one of his questions. Yeah. Mistakes I've made by not consulting God.
Yeah. Yes.
I was like, ooh, how many do I want to write down here?
Yeah, where's that journal at? Yeah. I mean, it just keeps going.
Yeah. And it's like, and then in that, I remember some very particular mistakes I made. Yeah. And in that, when I realized it, I realized where I'm at, and I have no way out of this. God, I know I got myself here.
Yeah.
Can you help me out? And honestly, every single time, it's like he just, and it turned. Every single time. God, I don't know how, I don't know how. I love to figure out how. If you know anything about me, I love to figure out how, but I know better, because there ain't no way that I know how to figure that out. God he took what was just not working and he fixed it.
Yeah, I think it's very important for us today that when we do face those times and we know that it has been a hiccup, it's a mess up, it's the thing that causes us problems, I think it's very important for us, and I've used this analogy for years, is to take good notes.
That's true.
because and
Reflect on it.
yeah, because there. I mean, okay, where was the tipping point? Where was the turn that sent me that direction?
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that's part of that brain that works in us is you want to know what causes that, not just to say, well, don't do that no more.
Yeah.
You know, well, but I need to know what to correct, when to correct. You know, because it's my nature. I'm going to go.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to do it. You know, and so it's good for us to think through those times. You know, and realize that that God has a plan. He has a plan.
There's and this is a balanced type of thinking here, so to speak. But if you take Jonah,
Yeah.
every step Jonah took, it was just direct opposite. So even and Pastor said this, even if you're not in alignment with God, his plan continues.
That's right.
It wasn't God's plan for Jonah to get on the boat to Tarsus. He didn't have to do all that. He didn't have, but Jonah had some things he had to work out.
And I think God knew that.
Yeah.
God knew that, you know, and again, sometimes I think that we're led into things. That's the story of Job.
Yeah.
I mean, God knew that there was some things to learn here, and you know, you would say that, you know, well, that's wanting, it's creating ill will on someone. No, it's not. It's teaching us. It's teaching us in those trials and those tests and those things. I think about people that have lost family members, even children. I'm thinking of one now that lost a child, but they took those pieces of brokenness that God had allowed them to go through, and they sculptured this thing, this answer out of it, and now it becomes part of them. Hey, I want to tell you about the story of this, how that God helped me through this. You know, I think that's important.
There's a gentleman I know that he's a dog trainer, and and there's several people I grew up around that were trainers of animals, and there's something that you learn when you teach an animal something, right? I mean, even just as simple as teaching a dog to sit.
Sit, right.
As simple as it gets, there's something about the natural nature that you learn. Okay, this has to go this way. This has to go in this order.
Yeah.
This has to line up with this. And when we learn, you mentioned it may not feel easy. It may not feel right. Guess what?
Yeah.
God's training us.
That's right. That's right.
It doesn't always feel good.
No.
It doesn't always feel great. It's not exactly what we want to do all the time.
And I think that's what was happening in the children of Israel. You know, God brings them and delivers them and their children. Mm-hmm. All of this Egyptian way, all of the stuff that the Egyptians had. I mean, you think that it would not. I mean, yeah, they held their own meetings and they would try to teach their children the word of God. They would try to, you know, and they did that, but still yet they're living in Egypt.
Yeah.
And you look over your shoulder and you see what's going on in Egypt. All of that stuff has to be worked out of us.
That's fair. It has to, and he purchased them.
Yeah.
So he was investing in them.
That's an investment. That's right.
And when you invest in something, right? When you buy a dog, you buy a golden doodle, you don't just give up on it the first time it chews up something because you paid for that bad boy.
That's right. Yeah. And you have to train it.
Yeah, you have to train it not to do that.
That's an investment.
All those, if you have a garden, something about a garden will teach. If you have a culture that has gardens, those people stand for something because they've invested their time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've invested their energy. God's doing the same to us.
That's right.
He's invested in us.
That's right.
So if I may, he's purchased you.
Yeah.
He's investing in you.
Oh, yes.
Don't lose sight of that. Don't lose hope. Where you're at, God knows where you're at. What if you've made your bed, in hell,
He's there.
He's there. Yeah. If you've run as far as you can go, He's there.
That's right.
He's waiting on you to realize where you're at. Hey, hang on just a second.
Tried as pure gold, as the Scripture says.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gone through fire. The impurities are all out of it, and that's what He's doing to us. You know, there's things that we think we're okay. You know, we've made it to the altar and we're doing good, and then all of a sudden God turns the heat up, and He's like, there's still some stuff there.
Let me put some heat on it, bring it to the top, and get it out.
Yeah,
there.
get it out of there.
That's fair enough.
My. Well, folks, it's been great being with you today, and I encourage you back up, and you'll get some things out of that message that probably we didn't get. Everybody gets something out of the message that was delivered this past week, and we challenge you to do that. Back up and look at that and reflect on it. Get online, look us up, cac.org, and help us get there. And we've got a lot of great things going on here at CAC, so get in touch with us. Let us know.
If you're watching on YouTube, the video that'll pop up after this is the sermon.
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on it. We probably butchered it, but Pastor, he preached a masterpiece. So go and listen to that. Let God speak to you. We're so glad you joined us today. Hope you have a great rest of the week.
God bless you.